What do you think is the, we're going to start hitting on names that we've associated with the Lakers. And I've said this before, joking around. I feel like Miles Turner has been a Laker for 3 years. Buddy Hield, I feel like, has had a long career with the Lakers. I think the new one now is Walker Kessler. Like, now we're walking into a name where it's like, well, if he doesn't become a Laker in the next 2 years and he's so young, are we just going to keep hearing Walker Kessler's name? Getting a chance to listen to your pod on Buha's block. How realistic? What would the price point be to go get a guy like Walker Kessler? Do the Lakers, you think, have the proper assets? Do the Jazz want to make a move with the Lakers? Just your thoughts when you hear the name Walker Kessler. Is that something that you think would be realistic?
I don't think so. So going back to last season, I'd heard the asking price was starting at 2 first-round picks for Walker Kessler, and they wanted even more than that, but that was like the minimum for them to entertain a conversation. I heard around the time of the Mark Williams trade that the Lakers had, remember, Luka had a list of multiple young bigs that he wanted to play with, and I heard that they floated that similar package to several teams, including Utah, for Kessler, and Utah said no. So I don't think Mark Williams was at the top of the Lakers list in terms of the young centers they inquired about. So I think if Utah is having a fire sale, you can't entirely rule it out. And sometimes players have some say, especially a young guy that maybe he wants to go to a certain place and they give him, grant him that wish. But I don't see the Lakers, like the most they could realistically offer is some combination of, because he's also on a rookie scale contract. So you can't, people want to throw in Gabe or Maxey, but then now all of a sudden you got to have matching salary with that. You can't just trade. They're not just going to take on like $8 extra million. Mm-hmm. It would have to be something like Dalton, the 2031 or 2032 first. Remember, they can only trade one. You could throw in a pick swap or two, but that pick swap's only so valuable because the Lakers are projected to be good with Luka. Utah is not projected to be good. So it's like pick swaps only have value if you think you're going to be better than the team you're trading with. Utah can't with confidence say they're going to be better than the Lakers anytime soon. So those pick swaps aren't really that valuable. And they have a second to throw in. And it's like, okay, is Dalton a first and a second good enough for Walker Kessler, who's one of the best rim protectors in the league, one of the best rebounders in the league, in his early 20s, still on a rookie deal, walking double-double. I've made the Zubac.
Sounds like a no.
It's a no. So yeah. I don't see, if the Lakers had a second first-round pick to trade, and there's ways they could go get one. If someone's really high on I don't know, if someone's really high on Rui, you could maybe flip Rui for a first or something and then go get, but then now it's really Rui and Dalton and like now you start to add it up and you're giving up a lot. So I mean, there are ways they can be creative with it. I wouldn't say that's been their strong suit in terms of their roster building has been their creativity. Mm-hmm. And I don't see a way that that they have enough to meet what Utah wants.
Is as we kind of look at the rest of the roster and obviously changes will happen and hopefully Lakers are able to address it. Just kind of getting a chance to see Luka in those few months, getting a chance to see LeBron, Luka, and Austin Reeves together. Again, it's really, really tough to, I think, have too strong of an opinion when you had such an imperfect roster. But here's the reality. They ended up winning 50 games. I don't know how you felt going into the playoffs, but they had at least convinced us like, hey, you know what? They got a chance to make some noise. They weren't able to do so. Everyone gets another year goes by. LeBron is a little bit older. I think you definitely see how Austin Reeves and Luka can get exposed on the defensive side if that's your backcourt. Kind of put all this into the mix together. If they're able to get the right big man, again, not this marquee name that's going to be an all-star, but just somebody that you feel like that's a good fit for the Lakers. If they could round up the rest of the roster with LeBron, Luka, and Austin Reeves, just how confident are you that they can make some real noise in the Western Conference? And also how much will you always kind of question, can you build off a 41 year or 40, going to be 41. Two players in the backcourt that not exactly are going to shut it down on the defensive side. Just for what they already have, how much does that give you confidence? How much does that give you hesitation?
I think they could build around those three as a trio. I think we saw it over the last third, we'll say, of the regular season there, the final 25, 30 games. I do think there is little to no margin for error with the roster build. And that's where things get a little tricky in terms of, I think with Austin and Luka, I think it can work. And I might be in the minority with that. I know a lot of fans don't think it could work. I just look at 2022, he makes the conference finals with Jalen Brunson back there. And Jalen Brunson was not yet New York Jalen Brunson. He was actually coming off the bench a bit, for stretches there, but he really stepped up in the playoffs and he was a playoff riser. And when Luka went down, he took over and we saw what he was about to become when he went to New York. But he's also a 6-foot guard who is really limited defensively, despite being this fire hydrant and having a certain level of strength. Like, he's just a guy that people can pick on, I think, even to a larger extent than Austin. Then I look at 2024 and with Kyrie, they make the finals. And again, Kyrie, different class of player than Austin offensively. I'm not trying to compare those two, but defensively, I think it's fair game. Austin, I think, is a better defender than Kyrie and is also bigger than Kyrie by about 3 inches. So I look at that and like Luka, and now part of that's also on Luka. I think he was better defensively in 2022 and better defensively in 2024. But this notion that like you have to protect Luka with 4 like all defense level defenders and you can't have another liability or a guy that teams could target out there. I just call BS on that, because I look at 2022 and I look at 2024 and like he played with small guards. Now, granted, their offensive level was at high, and Austin I think has to continue to grow and get better to be at a similar level. But those guys were not all defense guys defensively. If anything, there were relative liabilities and guys you could target. And but now those teams had the front courts to protect them. And that's why I look at the Lakers and like, you got to go get that center. And I think you got to go get another big wing defender, be it more of like a 3-4 or more of a 2-3 type, but someone who can be that primary wing stopper. And I don't think they had that this past year. Dorian is much more of a big man defender at this point of his career. Rui was playing out of position. He's a 4, but sometimes they're putting him on like 2s or 3s, and it's just not his strong suit. So like, I think that they have 2 big holes, which is the starting center spot and a starting wing spot. And if you can go get those 2, I think that helps support Luka and Austin defensively. And I also think it takes a lot off LeBron's plate as a defender. So I think if they could get the proper guys with a certain level of athleticism, length, size, physicality, they plug those 2 starting holes, then all of a sudden, I think this is a group that makes a lot more sense. And to your initial question, I think they can make some noise. I think they can win 50-plus games again. I think they can be a top 4 seed. And I think they can win at least a round or 2, which at that point, it comes down to health and luck and a lot of factors. So I think they could be right back where they should have been, this postseason.
All right, thank you very much for watching the clip. Just want to give a shout out here to one of our partners, the Wallace Firm. They are official injury attorney of the Sliwa Show and Hoops Talk, the entire channel. If you are ever in a need, and I hope you're not, but some type of serious injury with yourself or a family member of yours, I would like to personally help you by introducing you to the best in the business, Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm. Also got a URL out here that you can use as well. Just go to wallacewins.com/Sliwa. Thank you for their partnership, and thank you for being a part of the Sliwa Show.